This video is being brought to you by Satisfy Gaming. Make playing your Switch in portable mode super ergonomic with the Satisfy Gaming grips. They also have case and grip bundles that let you keep the grip on your Switch and store it safely in their high quality cases. These grips make using your Switch in portable mode as comfortable as a Pro controller. Use the code ReviewTech10 to save 10% off your entire order. Link below in the description.
Hey boys and girls, I'm finally going to review the iPhone 11 Pro Max. This is my first real phone review, where I'm not just using one camera and boring the crap out of you. It should be fun. Hopefully I survive it. Let's get into it.
Skip it up and down up.
So yeah, I got a confession. I was wrong about this phone. I thought I was going to hate the iPhone 11 Pro Max. When I first saw leaks of what it was going to look like, I'm like, are they kidding me? They're doing this again. There's nothing different except that ugly. I was hoping that the camera bump, which actually grows on you, it doesn't look that bad, especially when you put a case on the phone. I thought it was all, I was hoping it was all going to be wrong, and there was going to be USB-C, and there was going to be all these other things on the iPhone 11 series phones, but no, yeah, they didn't change too much. And you could say that's boring, or you could say this phone is the most refined phone of this generation of iPhones, because we know like how there was the 6, the 7, and the 8. There's the 10, there's the 10S series, and then the 11 series. This is the third generation, and this is the best of the generation. And yeah, it may be boring, but it's a damn good phone. Now, when it comes to design, spoiler alert, not much has changed. Here I took the case off of the phone so you guys could see I have the space gray version of the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and not much has changed. There's still a lightning port on the bottom, no USB-C, kids. Even though they call the phone Pro, they aren't including the Pro feature like they have on the iPad Pro. Way to go, Apple. There's still the big ass notch on the top. All the buttons are, maybe they're slightly lower than they were in the 10S and 10S Max. But that's it. Everything's the same. Notch in the screen, button placement's the same. Didn't bring back the headphone jack. It ain't coming back, kids. It's not coming back. The design, minus the camera bump on the back with the iPhone 11 series phones, is identical to the previous two generations. We've been through this rodeo with Apple before. So in terms of design, no real big differences. I guess the frosted glass is different. That's it. They had like a reflective kind of glass in the back of the 10S series phones. Now it's frosted. I actually like the frosted look better. It is slipperier in the hands though, and that's why for the rest of this review I ain't taking the case off. You could be mad at me for it, but I bought this phone with my own money, and I ain't shattering a $1,300 phone. I'm sorry. And I don't put skins on my phones. Skins don't protect glass from cracking. Now, Apple has boosted the water resistance for the Apple 11 series phones, and now has an IP68 rating where it could be under 4 meters of water for 30 minutes. So don't worry about getting this phone wet in the rain. Don't worry about splashes of water on it. Would I actually leave it in 4 meters of water for 30 minutes to test that out? No, but you could be rest assured that when you go out in the rain, your phone is going to be just fine. Now, if you don't like my space gray color, there's also a silver, gold, and midnight green color. I actually kind of wanted that, but when I went to go pick up the iPhone 11 Pro Max, they didn't have it. But design-wise, there's not too much different with the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and Pro Max. So, yeah, boring. Moving on. Now, notch aside, the screen on the iPhone 11 Pro Max is really pretty. It's a nice looking screen. Now, Apple is calling it the Super Retina XDR display, and on the Max, it's a 6.5-inch OLED display. It has 800 nits of typical brightness, and if you really need it, it could go up to 1200 nits of brightness max. It has a 2688 by 1242 resolution, which equates to 458 pixels per inch, and it has HDR10 and Dolby Vision support. Now, for a short time, I did have a 10S Max, and when you compare the two screens, is it a night and day difference? No. But one thing I did notice is that when you watch Netflix or any kind of HDR footage, you can't watch it on YouTube because YouTube doesn't support HDR on iPhones, boo. But when you watch HDR footage, I did notice on Netflix that colors did really pop out at you, and blacks were super black. This is one of the most impressive screens on a smartphone that I've ever seen. Now, unfortunately, you're not getting high refresh rates like OnePlus is doing, where they're giving 90 hertz refresh rates, so on and so forth. I wish Apple did do that with this generation of iPhone. It would have been cool, but it's still an absolutely gorgeous screen. The other thing, too, that I notice is usually when I get a smartphone, I always turn off the automatic brightness and always max out the brightness. On the iPhone 11 Pro Max, I don't do that for two reasons. Even when it's not at full brightness, it's still plenty bright, this screen. And on top of it too, the auto brightness on here is actually very smart. A lot of times, whether it be an Android or iOS device in the past, it wouldn't automatically adjust the brightness properly. On here, it does that. And I'm like, hey, I might as well leave it on and save some more battery, because it always seems to have the right amount of brightness at the right time, and I never have to think about it. So kudos to Apple for making auto brightness actually work properly on a phone. I almost feel like no one else has figured that out yet, at least the phones that I've tried. Now, the audio on the iPhone 11 series does have support for Dolby Atmos and spatial audio and all that, blah, 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 blah. It's stereo speakers right here. How the hell much can you do with it? All I could say is when you turn up the volume on this phone, there's clear, punchy, clean audio. It's a little tinny. It's not as mind-blowing as Apple would want you to believe, but it is nice for a phone. I mean, without putting in AirPods or some kind of headphones, it is pretty good audio. The whole thing with Dolby Atmos and all that, how much are you going to get out of two small speakers on a smartphone? But it's better than just having one mono bottom firing speaker like some smartphone manufacturers still do. So kudos to Apple for making sound on a smartphone without headphones tolerable. Now, Apple has moved up from the A12 Bionic processor to the A13, which they say is 20% faster, which who really cares, because the A12 Bionic felt insanely fast. So did the A11 chip. That felt fast too. Hell, I've seen people still rocking SEs and iPhone 6Ss and those phones run smooth. So it's not that the processor inside of the previous generation phones, the A12, was a slouch. But here is where things get interesting with the A13. Okay, you're not noticing that much of a performance difference, but battery gains on this phone are insane. Now, I want to mention something. Finally, Apple, even though they don't do it with the 11, which annoys me, if you get an 11 Pro or an 11 Pro Max, they finally give you an 18-watt fast charger. Not the fastest charger on the scene, but at least you're getting some sort of fast charging. Finally, I mean, for Christ's sake, Apple, blue phones from 3 years ago were including fast chargers on their somewhat entry-level phones. Finally, you're including a fast charging brick with some of your phones. Yay! The iPhone 11 should have it too, but it doesn't. You get a 5-watt power brick with that, which it will take you a year and a day to charge your phone. But anyway, moving on from that, they're sort of reluctantly embracing giving people fast chargers out of the box with certain models. I can't kill the battery in this phone. The iPhone 11 Pro Max, they say it gets 4 to 5 more hours of battery life than the XS Max. I think it may be more than that. There was no way I could do like a mathematical calculation how good the battery is in here, but I played a whole bunch of Call of Duty on this phone, Call of Duty Mobile, which I recommend you try, by the way. Haven't spent a single money on microtransactions, and it's actually a lot of fun. It feels like you're playing Black Ops. I've watched a whole bunch of videos, did a whole bunch of social media, did a whole bunch of filming with this, which you're obviously going to see B-roll of that in this video. Took a whole bunch of pictures, used it as a navigation, used it as just non-stop the whole day. And even after heavy use of like God knows how many hours, when I went to bed at night, late at night, I was still at like 50%. And that was way above average use. Way above average. And you just can't kill the battery in this. The battery life in this phone is the best I've ever seen in a smartphone ever. So even if you don't care about any of the other features, you don't care about the cameras, you don't care about the faster processor, you don't care about the super XDR delicious, luscious Retina display, battery life could be a huge selling point for you. Because say you work in the city or whatever, and you travel a lot, and you don't feel like having to carry around a extra battery brick with you or whatever the case may be, this phone, you can't kill it. I'm blown away by how much better the battery life is in here than in other smartphones that I've used. Well done, Apple. That's the reason. That's the most important benefit of the A13 Bionic processor. Now, admittedly, though, there was a battery upgrade in here, and we did lose a feature to get that battery upgrade besides the efficiency of the A13 processor, which makes the battery life much longer. They got rid of 3D Touch. 3D Touch has been replaced by Haptic Touch, which is a friggin' long press on the screen. It's not... I am annoyed that it's gone because there were some conveniences to 3D Touch, but the one thing they did keep, and thank God they kept it, was where if you hold on the space bar when you're typing a text or an email or whatever the case may be, you have the cursor so you could edit typos. That is the one thing I like 3D Touch for. It's not as fluid now, like you have to go to the space bar and hold down on there, whereas with 3D Touch, you could hit anywhere on the keyboard, push down, and you'll get the cursor so you could edit what you typed, but they still kept that feature. That was like the most important thing. I would be very angry if they got rid of how to edit your text, where if you move, you can move the cursor around. But luckily, they were smart enough to keep that. They knew that was popular. So, do I miss 3D Touch, though, still to agree? Yeah, I do. But if it means that that's what helped make the battery life so ridiculously, absolutely mind-numbingly insane on here, yeah, I'd rather see 3D Touch go. The battery life is that good. Now it's time to talk about the big elephant in the room, and that's the triple camera setup on the iPhone 11 Pro and 11 Pro Max, because they're almost good enough. Almost. I'll get into it. Keep that in your mind. Good enough to make you want to upgrade from your 10S or 10S Max. There's a couple caveats, though, and I also took out my S10 Plus to compare them. I do think the camera on here is generally better, except for a couple things. Don't you stop it. Except for a couple things. The S10 Plus is yelling at me. But anyway, let's get into it. Now, on the Pro phones, the 11 Pro phones, you get a 12 megapixel ultra wide, a 12 megapixel main, and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens on the back. So that gives you 0.5, 1 times, and 2 times optical zoom. So it's not digital, it's optical, which is pretty cool, so you won't start getting crazy artifacts when you take pictures with either of the 3 cameras. Now let's talk about the iPhone 11 Pro Max's wide angle lens, and I'll show some comparison shots to the S10 Plus as well. A lot of people said it's kind of soft. It's not the best wide angle lens out there. Now look, I don't own a billion different phones to make comparisons, but I think it looks great. I think the wide angle shots have either more color and clarity than the S10 Pluses. There's almost seems like there's like a film over the S10 Pluses. And yes, my camera lenses were clean. I carried around this cloth with me, so that's not the reason why. It just colors were slightly more dull. And not in a natural way. It's not like the argument could be made for the S10 Plus that, oh, you know, it's rich, it's more natural than what the the iPhone 11 Pro Max is putting out. It isn't. You can say there is a little bit of detail lost on the wide-angle lens in the iPhone 11 Pro Max compared to its normal lens, but I still thought the wide-angle shots were great, and I think the quality of the wide-angle lens and the shots I took were better on the 11 Pro Max than the Galaxy S10 Plus. And that trend continued. I actually went into a hat store here, and I took wide-angle shots with both the S10 Plus and 11 Pro Max. Still think they came out better on the 11 Pro Max. And even when you went to the main cameras and took the same picture of the hats at the hat store I went to, you saw more detail on the 11 Pro Max pictures. You could see the actual material the hats are made of, and there's more texture. It's not, whereas on the S10 Plus, you don't see as much detail. So again, I give hats off to the 11 Pro Max. I think it did a better job here. Now let's talk about the night mode on both the 11 Pro Max and on the Galaxy S10 Plus. Now, one thing that annoys me about the 11 Pro Max, or just the 11 series phones in general, is that you can't choose when you want to go to night mode. On the S10 Plus, you could just swipe over to night mode, and you could be in night mode whatever you want to be. It could be bright daylight out, and you could go into night mode. Not very pro, Apple not giving me the option to go into night mode. But whatever the case may be, the night mode on the 11 Pro Max destroys the night mode on the Galaxy S10 Plus. Here are some pictures. This is from the 11 Pro Max. I'm taking a picture of a house at night. It was pitch black out, and it actually almost looks like it's sunset. There's so much detail in the 11 Pro Max picture. Now, here's the same picture taken with the Galaxy S10 Plus. There's no comparison. There's absolutely no comparison whatsoever. You can't tell the colors in the trees. It's amazing the amount of detail that the 11 Pro Max picks up in so little light. Now, for the hell of it, I just put the camera down towards my feet and took a picture of grass where I knew there was even less light. 11 Pro Max, you see a shocking amount of detail for virtually no light. Now look at the S10 Plus with its night mode. Why even have a night mode, Samsung? These shots are useless. 11 Pro Max wins by a long shot. Now, the front-facing camera on the iPhone 11 Pro Max is awesome. It's also 12 megapixels, and you could also record 4K video with the Galaxy S10 Plus. And I think the front-facing camera also did a pretty good job here on the S10. I still think the front-facing camera on the 11 Pro Max is slightly better than the S10 Plus, but I think the S10 Plus did a good showing there. So either way, if you want to get either of these phones, the S10 Plus or the 11 Pro Max for doing a bunch of vlogging, and you want a 4K front-facing camera, you won't go wrong with either choice. But here is where things get a little spicy when it comes to the S10 Plus here and the 11 Pro Max. Recording video. Now, one thing that annoys me about the S10 Plus is you can't do 4K 24 with the built-in native camera app. Why, Samsung? I love 24 frames per second in 4K. It's smaller files, it looks more cinematic, but whatever. I recorded on the 11 Pro Max in 4K 24 FPS, and I recorded on here in 4K 30 because that's all it had with the native built-in app. So the footage may look janky, but you're going to see where the strengths of the 11 Pro Max are and where the strengths of the S10 Plus are. Now, this is me walking around the mall filming the same footage with both phones. Now, this is the 11 Pro Max. This is its strong point. The image stabilization for recording video on the 11 series iPhones is phenomenal. It looks like it's on a goddamn gimbal. It's incredible how smooth and how fluid the footage comes out. And I was not holding the phone. I was kind of purposely doing this with the phone, and it still looks like I had it on a gimbal. I was blown away with how good the footage looked on the iPhone. There's still a catch though, wait for it. Now, I did record in 4K 30 FPS with just stock settings. I reset all the camera settings, just put it at 4K 30 FPS. Again, no 24 FPS option on the Galaxy S10, and recorded the same length of footage at the mall. Look at the Macy's logo with the image stabilization that the S10 Plus has. You could turn off the software stabilization, but I didn't because there's a mixture of hardware and software stabilization with the 11 Pro Max and the same thing with the S10 Plus. So why would I turn it off? And it just gets really janky, man. The Macy's logo starts shaking, and it's like unusable footage. And you can make the argument, oh, Rich, you turn off the software image stabilization on the S10 Plus, but no, it's not 2009 anymore. Electronic image stabilization combined with optical image stabilization, which both of these phones have, should make for a very smooth experience. And on the iPhone, it does. But wait for it. Now I went to that same college campus. There's a rectory or a church on the college campus, and there was decent lighting in there, but there wasn't great lighting. And I walked down the aisle with both of these phones where the lighting is slightly less than ideal, and look at the difference. This is the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and look at how much noise you're seeing. Look at all yeah, sure, there may be more, you see a little bit more detail than the S10 Plus, but there's a lot of noise, and it was not that dark in that church. It was not that dark in that church. Now, again, the image stabilization on the 11 Pro Max is better, but that footage is noisy, man. It looks like Apple's doing way too much post-processing. And from other night videos I've seen of the 11 series iPhones, when it gets dark out, these phones turn soupy. There's a lot of noise you see. And look, I get cameras like a lot of light, but there's a lot of times that people film video at night. And I haven't seen a lot of YouTubers who did iPhone 11 reviews showing a lot of video. And I'm kind of surprised because when it gets dark out, the iPhone 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, and 11 shows their weaknesses. Video footage with these phones, when the lighting is not that bright, gets kind of messy looking. It's not great on the S10 Plus. Don't get me wrong. You see a good amount of noise in there too, as I almost drop it. But there's much less video noise or image noise when you're filming video on the S10 Plus than there is on the 11 Pro Max and 11 series iPhones. And that's kind of disappointing because there's a lot of times I'm in low light settings where I know it's not going to be perfect video, but I still want to film video and I don't want it to look like they're static on the screen. And hopefully there's an update or a patch that'll fix that on the iPhones. And the front-facing camera does the same thing too. So it's not a hardware issue with this. And if you look at other people's videos on YouTube recording video footage with the iPhone 11 series phones, they have the same issue too. So I'm not sure what Apple's doing, but they do need to fix it. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention the iPhone 11 Pro Max's front-facing camera and all of the iPhone 11 cameras. The front-facing ones could take selfies of your face in slow motion. You'll try it once and never use it again. Yay! So final verdict time, ladies and gentlemen. Do I think that you should buy the iPhone 11 Pro Max? Yes, with an asterisk. It's funny, a buddy of mine said to me, and it's the same thing that Snazzy Labs said, is that, look, Rich, this is the final generation of this design type for the iPhone 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro Max. Meaning like there was the 10, there was the 10S, and now there's the 11 series. And this is the best of that series. Just like the iPhone 8 was the best of how the 6, the 6S, the 7, and the 8 looked. So you're getting the best of what Apple has to offer in this generation. And look, man, the battery life is phenomenal. The cameras, minus what I mentioned, are really damn good. And if you have good light, the video on this camera is amazing as well on the 11 Pro Max. The screen, notch aside, is really a good looking screen. And my God, I almost forgot to mention this. Face ID is phenomenal now. It literally works instantaneously. It works in numerous different lighting conditions, whether it's completely dark in bed. That's maybe where I have the most trouble with it, but out of the billion times I tried it there were only 2 times my screen wouldn't open. You literally turn the phone on and Face ID opens your phone. I'd rather have Face ID than an in-screen fingerprint sensor or even a fingerprint sensor any day of the week. Apple has finally perfected Face ID, and I hope they keep it for next-gen iPhones, and I don't want to see Touch ID come back in the screens. Please no. Please no. You finally got Face ID right, Apple. Keep it. It's perfect. You nailed it. But beyond that, gripes I have with the phone, there are still iOS things that annoy me. For example, the camera app. You can't right inside the app change the FPS, the resolution, and change other settings. You have to go out of the camera app, into settings, go to camera to change frames per second in resolution. That's annoying. Siri is still an idiot. Google Assistant any day of the week over Siri. And without going into detail, I actually personally prefer Android Auto over Apple CarPlay for some features that it's missing. But this is one of the best smartphones I've ever used. And if you have maybe an iPhone 6S or older and you don't want to wait another year, you won't go wrong with getting the iPhone 11, the iPhone 11 Pro, or iPhone 11 Pro Max. I hate admitting it because I really thought these phones were going to be really boring and suck really bad, and they are kind of boring. But this is the best smartphone I've ever owned. God, that hurts saying. This is Richard Review Tech USA signing out. I complimented an Apple product. Have a good one.